Hi, church. At the very beginning of this COVID-19 pandemic, we put together a re-entry committee. This committee was to look at things like protocols for safe inside worship, mask, physical distancing. We talked about outside worship and what that should look like. On this committee is me, our executive minister, Fred Fulks, our worship minister, Nikki Wiarda, three of our shepherds, Kurt Williams, Dennis Odell, and Jim Unruh. We recently, just a few days ago, got together to discuss the most recent changes that the CDC and even our county has made regarding COVID-19 protocols. As you know, our county allowed the mask mandate to expire at the end of April. And so what they've done is they've changed the language. Now they recommend masks be worn indoors, but they do not require, right? Recommend, but will not require. And they want to leave it up to the discretion of each local business, local restaurant, and local school to decide on their own if they're going to require masks to be a part of their businesses, part of the school or the restaurant, and the county is going to allow that. What does that mean for us? What does that mean for OP Church? Well, throughout this entire pandemic, we've really paid close attention to what our schools are doing in the area. We've really thought highly of how the schools have handled this, and so we followed a lot of their protocols. And as you know, our local schools have decided that even though the mask mandate has expired, they're going to continue to require masks through the rest of the school year, which is basically just the end of this month. Therefore, I think we're going to do the same. We are going to require masks inside our building in our indoor worship services through the rest of the month. Now, barring any changes that the CDC might make or our county might make, barring any unexpected surges in COVID numbers, starting in June, we will no longer require masks. We're going to leave it up to the discretion of each individual to decide whether or not they want to continue wearing a mask. And we fully support those who want to continue wearing masks. And as a matter of fact, we will continue to offer masks in the lobby for anyone who needs that. Now, what does this mean for our services? I think there's a question that needs to be in the forefront of our minds, and that question is this: what does it look like to love our neighbor? What does it look like to love our neighbor? Not everyone believes the same thing about masks and about physical distancing. While there are many who are ready for our protocols to expire and to be taken out of the way, there are just as many who are still being cautious. And so what does it look like to love our neighbor in the midst of this? I think it's going to take a lot of wisdom and discernment on each of us individually whenever we attend worship services, that we need to be respectful of our neighbors, and we need to not just assume that everyone is okay with physical touch, that not everyone is okay with sitting right next to someone else in a pew in the worship service. We need to be respectful of our neighbors and ask ourselves, what does it look like to love our neighbor? We're not going to require masks, and we're even going to remove some of the ropes that we have separating some of the pews. But that does not mean that we don't want to be extremely cautious and extremely safe. Let us continue to think of others more highly than ourselves, and let us continue to do what we can to make sure we're keeping others safe and healthy. Now, as a side note, the Adult Education Committee and the Reentry Committee are also discussing what does it look like for our adult education to continue to resume, what will it look like for our links to get back together, and when can we do that? Well, be expecting an announcement about that very soon. We don't have all those details all ironed out yet, but we're working on it, and hopefully very soon you will hear more about links resuming, our adult education resuming, the Bible studies during the week resuming. We're going to have more details about that to come up. But for now, what you need to hear is through May, we're going to continue wearing masks. Starting in June, we will no longer require masks. Thank you and have a blessed week.